Welcome to Forget Me Not Radio, the podcast where we discuss taboo topics and other issues society would rather silence. My name is Amy Dommett, and I'm your host. Forget Me Not Radio was designed to be a discussion. I've been having conversations with experts on and survivors of intimate partner violence, human trafficking, child abuse, and other traumas that have been experienced by so many of us. The thing is, there are a number of people out there who are fighting battles that we could never understand unless we have been there personally. And these taboo topics do not stop at domestic violence or issues that happen within a family unit. They expand to a number of topics that can make us as a society uncomfortable or even divided. Whether we are discussing homelessness, incest, mental health issues, or rape, they are subjects that often are accompanied by misinformation, victim blaming, and silence. There are a number of reasons individuals remain quiet on these issues, but it is very often it has to do with the fact that they scare us, or we simply don't understand them. We cannot relate, and we often believe that they will never happen to us. But the statistics, they tell us differently. These issues affect millions of people, and they thrive in silence. Secrets and silence are a protective sheath that empower abusers. Apathy and ignorance allow these injustices to go unchecked. And victim blaming creates an atmosphere that's void of hope. It hinders victims from seeking out help and enables these societal diseases to grow in the shadows, destroying lives and communities each and every day. What would happen if we were aware of those who are trying to get back on their feet? What if we took notice of those who are just wishing that someone understood where they were coming from? What if we knew the signs to look for, recognized someone's pain, and knew who to call when someone we know or love is in crisis? They are out there, all around you. These individuals who need support, love, and help, but who don't know what to do. Those who are seeking protection, but don't feel safe. Those who know that their issue is not popular. Those who know that they will be judged for their situation. As a survivor of intimate partner violence, I understand this all too well. After 16 years of being emotionally, psychologically, verbally, and physically abused by the man that I loved, I finally chose to walk away. I couldn't even bring myself to share what was going on with those closest to me. I couldn't share the pain that I was going through because I knew in my heart that they would never understand. I knew that they would expect me to leave, which I wasn't prepared to do, or to fix the problem, which I couldn't do. I knew I would be judged. Leaving my marriage was only the first step in a very long process. While I struggled to heal after my divorce, it seemed I was battling the world and myself simultaneously. I fought internally with the concepts of being misunderstood and misunderstanding my own self. Depression and anxiety took over, yet I had no clear understanding of why I was depressed or anxious. It was a daily battle to appear normal to society, because I feared that if I was truthful about the chaos in my mind, people would look at me much differently. I was ashamed. I felt guilty, and I felt broken. It was a long and slow road to healing. There were many twists and turns, a lot of outside help, and years of self-work. I literally thought I was completely alone in my experience and in my brokenness. During this time, at the prompting of my therapist, I started a journal. And I turned that journal into a blog. It was called Forget Me Not, Learning to Live With Me and For Me. My very first entry was 5 years ago, when I introduced myself to the entire world, documenting my healing journey, my struggles, and my missteps. It was important to me to understand how I had come to where I was and what I believed was currently causing me to feel horrible. I did a lot of introspection, trying to figure out what triggered me and trying to figure out why I made the choices that I made in my life and in my marriage. And it became as much about trying to help others sort through what they were going through as it was about me. I believed that if I could understand what was going on in my mind, then maybe someone else would benefit from me sharing. What I found is that as I began to heal, I was more willing to share. And as I shared, others opened up to me in return. I learned that there is a great big world out there full of hurting people who are suffering due to the actions of others. It was heartbreaking, and I wanted to do something. What that something was, that was the question. Time passed, and I decided that maybe I would turn my story into a memoir. My blog, it mostly focused on the healing process, the introspection, the getting back to me. But my memoir, that would give me an opportunity to share the story that was behind my healing, the details of the love, of the hate, and of the indecision. It would give people a better understanding of that all-encompassing question. Why didn't I just leave? But even that didn't seem to be enough. Not everyone could relate to my story or couldn't connect the dots between my reality and their own. There were those uncomfortable in knowing my true story, and they didn't even bother to read it. Of course, there are always those who just don't like to read. And there were even those close to me that upon hearing my story for the first time, chastised me for not telling them sooner. But on the other side, people I didn't even know were contacting me. After they had read my blog or my book, they just wanted to connect, and they saw me as someone that they could connect with. My story had resonated with them. They were reading my book as if it were their own. They could relate. They were hurting, and there were so many of them. These individuals were not all survivors of abuse at the hands of their husband, as I was. They were abused as children. They were raped. They were sexually assaulted, or they had witnessed violence in their home. But all of them were struggling to make heads or tails of their emotions and their healing. Some were making progress. Others were stuck. Some were living as victims. Others were suppressing their feelings. Others believed they had overcome, but later found themselves suffering from a pain that they did not understand. But what stood out to me the most was the numbers. There were so many hurting people, so many coming forward with their story. People I knew, people I didn't. I never knew how many people were hurting before. I had no idea. And honestly, I believed myself to be a very open-minded individual. All of this information and all of this need led to the formation of Forget-Me-Not Advocacy Group. I felt that I had gone through what I did so that I could help reach others. And my goal became to stop domestic violence before it even starts, to lower the statistics because there was no need for them to be so high. It's preventable. I wanted to be the voice for those who do not have one, educate the community so that they can be more of a support to those in need, and break the silence on domestic violence. I wanted to be able to give our young people the tools that they need to recognize and avoid abuse before it even begins. To be able to understand the difference between a healthy relationship and an unhealthy one, healthy behavior and unhealthy behaviors. To educate parents so that they can support their children as they navigate through the dating world. And to let victims know that they're not alone. I am by all means not the only person out there doing this. There are so many groups that are out there supporting those that are hurting, trying to shed the light on domestic violence. But there are also numerous and enormous grassroots groups all over the country working to raise awareness on various topics. Many of them have been started by individuals, such as myself, who have personally experienced the cause at hand. There are survivors out there who are passionate about helping other people avoid trauma and healing from it. They fight daily to create change in their community, and they are making a difference. And as I started to meet these people and work with these founders and groups, I heard another underlying theme. It was a mission in and of itself to get society to listen, to hear the cries of the hurting around them. Getting people to talk was not just an issue that domestic violence groups encountered. It is an issue that many groups encounter. How do you educate a community of individuals who don't even want to hear what you have to say? How do you reach the hurting when they're too scared or ashamed to come forward and seek out help? Not long after starting Forget-Me-Not Advocacy Group, I was chosen to be a speaker at a TEDx conference here locally. And not only did I consider it a privilege to share my story, but I was introduced to others who had stories to share. Stories of suffering, of trauma, of empowerment, and of hope. There were two particular individuals that I shared the stage with, and what they overcame to be the people that they were meant to be was so encouraging. I heard their stories along with the rest of the audience about their struggles, their healing, and their strength. And I was reminded once again that we all have our battles and our issues that we must overcome. Although our stories may vary, the endpoints are the same. Survive, thrive, and be the change. This is where Forget-Me-Not Radio comes into play. There are so many topics that are taboo in society. We want you, the audience, to learn from others, broaden your horizons, and know that no matter how difficult the topic, the experience, or the outcome, life can be beautiful. I have been speaking to so many people, and I personally am learning so much. And I can't be the only one here that has a lot to learn about how these issues affect individuals and our community at large. On the show, we have survivors, creators, nurturers, and change makers. Some of these people that I've interviewed and brought on are the nonprofit founders that I spoke of earlier. Some are survivors. Some are both. But they're all people that want to learn and grow together. And while we get up close and personal with these uncomfortable topics, that is how we are going to grow. In all of it, in all of these conversations, we share the sadness. We do. We share the stories, some of which are horrifying. But we also laugh, encourage, and shine. Because change is not about misery or doom. Change is about life, love, and happiness. We all deserve that. And we can all have that. I'm really excited to start this new journey, and I'm happy that you've chosen to come along for the ride. If you want to learn more about me personally, you can visit my website or Forget-Me-Not Advocacy Group's website. There's information on both. My personal author and podcast page is amydommett.com. That's AMY, D as in David, AU, M as in Mary, IT as in Tom.com. Forget-Me-Not Advocacy Group can also be found online at forgetmenotgroup.org. Our podcast page is also found on amydommett.com, but it's amydommett.com/podcast. There you will find information on the guests, the episodes, links, and ways that you can support our outreach. We would love if you would subscribe to our show on iTunes, and if you could rate and review us, that's even better. Let us know how we're doing. We waited a while to launch because we wanted you to have a full idea of where we are going with this show. I don't just want to make promises. I want to deliver. You will find multiple episodes already uploaded for your listening pleasure. I think that you'll find them inspiring and hopeful. Feedback helps us, and it helps others to find us. You can also support this podcast through patreon.com/amydommett or through PayPal to help us grow and to make this podcast the best possible outreach. We have a vision, but we need your support to get there. Both links can be found on the podcast page, amydommett.com/podcast. So that's enough of all that. You know where to find us. And I hope you enjoy what we have to say. So let's get to it. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you on the other side.